Pride puts ego above truth. Humility puts truth above ego. At its most extreme, pride can completely block people from the truth that's right in front of their noses. It's a form of spiritual blindness and a backdoor for demonic influences to enter the mind and take over. Alchemical texts and religious scriptures are replete with warnings about the consequences of pride, whereas humility is said to be a precursor for receiving higher knowledge and for effective healing and prayer. It's a key component of spiritual development. We must be able to humble ourselves before the eternal truth of the universe, or we are destined to live out our lives in darkness, believing in fables and pseudoscience. Scientism represents the sum total of man's best attempts at explaining creation without a creator. For this reason, it has become a quasi-religious doctrine in modern times, a sort of atheistic religion with its own idols and dogmas, opposed to divinity in all its forms, and in full denial of the human soul or the creative Holy Spirit. But all practitioners of science are not necessarily impious. One of the so-called fathers of quantum physics, Werner Heisenberg, is quoted as saying, "The first gulp from the glass of natural sciences will leave you an atheist, but at the bottom of the glass, God is waiting for you." As a former quantum atheist myself, I can attest to this. Many people only take one gulp and never get to the bottom. Scientism is full of one-gulpers, but as someone who has drunk down every last drop, I can assure you there is no uncertainty in this principle. If truth is what we seek, then truth is what we shall find. For those who wish to deceive people and exploit nature, scientism is an important ally, as it provides the intellectual justification for evil. Scientism has no built-in morality. Fanatical believers can do evil deeds all day long with a clean conscience, since there's no sin, no karma, no spirit, no soul, no afterlife, no judgment, no creator. It's all just predators and prey. Kill or be killed. A convenient creed for a death cult. In opposing scientism, we are like David in the story of David and Goliath, but the giants we face are not flesh and blood, but isms and ologies. Decrepit doctrines that are propped up by religious authorities, clandestine government programs, and media propaganda. The difficulty in wrestling with these big ideas is that there are legions of determined believers who are attached to them like barnacles on a sinking ship, and we must endure their scathing abuse and vitriol while it all goes down. But this is an alchemical purification process in and of itself. Let it be understood, all that is good and pure in science stands strong. What works, works. True science is impervious to criticism. It can't be debunked. It can only be smeared, obscured, and covered up. In essence, there are three parts to the scientific method: observe, hypothesize, and test. It's quite straightforward. However, to hypothesize really means to use your imagination. It's an educated guess, and it must be tested by designing, building, and conducting experiments, which is costly, time-consuming, and proper hard work. So there's a whole layer of academic science now that has abandoned observation and testing altogether, and instead just hypothesizes all day long. This is theoretical physics, the explanation layer, where many of the concepts are intangible, unprovable, or just way beyond the ability of mere mortals to comprehend. Quote, "Today's scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments, and they wander off through equation after equation, eventually building a structure which has no relation to reality." Nikola Tesla. It's true, I was one of them, guilty as charged. I wandered through the equations, I used to dream of equations, and built many a mathematical structure that had no relation to reality. In fact, the more exotic and complex, the better. Quote, "Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork." Michio Kaku. It's no great secret, but theoretical physics is essentially just explanation guessing. They have cast the scientific method aside so as to untether from the constraints of truth and enter the realm of fiction and fantasy, a liminal zone where Intrepid desk jockeys venture in their minds, highly prone to fallacies and falsehoods and fudgery of all kinds. A zone where people like Michio Kaku permanently reside. The scientific method was designed to ensure that all scientific work is fruitful and positive, that it can be relied upon, built upon. But this goes out of the window when it comes to theoretical work, and it's had quite damaging consequences on the civilian population who have largely come to trust in science as this infallible, all-knowing institution that superseded religion. After having spent the last decade unlearning all this science I was indoctrinated with, my conscience compelled me to tell my story for those with ears to hear. I hope to help others disentangle from these theories that have clouded our minds, robbed us of our spirituality, and retarded the progress of nations. Humanity is going through a period of great turmoil and upheaval at this time. A lot is being revealed. Psycho-spiritual warfare is the new normal. Learning to disbelieve the claims of scientism sets us free from a great deal of anguish that its believers must endure.